Hey everybody, I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about Leviticus, specifically Leviticus 25. I'm at Leviticus 25:2, and it says, "Speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you come into the land which I give you, then the land shall observe a Sabbath to Yahweh. 6 years you sow your field, and 6 years you prune your vineyard and gather in its fruit. But in the 7th year the land is to have a Sabbath of rest, a Sabbath to Yahweh. Do not sow your field, and do not prune your vineyard. Do not reap what grows of its own of your harvest, and do not gather the grapes of your unpruned vine, for it is a year of rest to the land." And then it says in Leviticus 25:21, "Therefore I have commanded my blessing on you in the 6th year, and it shall bring forth a crop for 3 years." Thinking about this in the sense of what my husband and I are going through right now, when we bought our property, it had had cattle being run on it for many, many years. And when we came onto the property, the grass was very short. There were flowers, but not a wide variety, basically just the ones the cattle didn't like eating. And there wasn't a lot of variety. The blackberry bushes were chewed down to nubs and everything else. And so now that we've been here about 2 months and the property has had time to rest, I'm walking through grass in some areas that is up to my hips. And I'm 5'7", so having grass up to my hips is pretty tall grass. And also there's a huge variety of different grasses, grass seeds, flowers, plants, weeds, everything like that growing. There's a lot of biodiversity. And it had me thinking about Leviticus, and specifically Leviticus 25, in the sense that whether it's the Old Testament or the New Testament, God knows what he's talking about. And while my husband and I have never been on property long enough with our animals to even be able to do something like this, it really had me thinking about God's direction here. And just like he tells us to observe a Sabbath to him, our land is also to serve a Sabbath to him. And so seeing this property and seeing how much growth and restoration has happened in just 2 months, I can only imagine what it was like for them back then when he's talking about an entire year of rest. Now we are going to be obviously rotating our sheep through our property because we do rotational grazing, but we're only going to be using the back 10 acres of our pasture. We still have 10 acres in the front of our pasture that's going to be left untouched for at least a year. And so I'm really excited to see next spring what that field is even like compared to the fields where we're now starting to run sheep on. And it just kind of being here for the 2 months just really proves to me that there's purpose in everything God says. And I know Yeshua Messiah died on the cross for us and everything else, but for me, that still doesn't change the legitimacy of what God says in the beginning or even in the end. And, well, obviously we're not even at the end yet, but in the beginning and the end of the Bible I'm talking about. It just really made me stop and think about Leviticus 25 and about God's word and letting the land rest, because I'm seeing what the land resting is doing now just for our property, and thinking about how in the future, when we get to that 7th year on this property, letting our land rest and what that will be like and how to prepare for that. But he even himself says that in the 6th year, we'll reap a harvest for 3 years. So it's just interesting it'll be interesting to see, and definitely something that we as a family will be putting in and implementing in our property. But it's just something I wanted to share with you guys, because I know sometimes the Old Testament kind of gets overlooked, especially Leviticus, but it's something worth looking into. It's something worth reading. There's other tidbits and information in Leviticus that are just so interesting, and that I'll be going over in future videos about how science that we have today basically talks about and proves some things that God said in Leviticus. But I just wanted to share that with you guys. Something to think about if you are a homesteader or living off grid or anything like that, and you do run animals on your property. Take a look at Leviticus 25 and see if anything gets put on your heart about it, and what God says to you about it in that respect. So, all right, guys. Hope you have a great day. Bye.